Hello everyone, we want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to our small garden here. We want to prepare a compost pit. So with me here are my students who are going to show us the process of preparing a compost pit. And we want to make it very clear the difference between a compost pit and a compost heap. Here we are not doing a compost heap because in a compost heap we don't need to dig any hole. In a compost heap, we just need to pile the materials in layers. But for us, we have a compost pit which has already been dug by some of the students here. And of course, they'll show us how they did the digging. Before we go to some of them, who will also take us through the process of piling the materials in the compost pit. So I'll start with Mike, who will show us how he had dug the compost pit. He has just dug a small compost pit for us. Mike, show us that how you are digging your compost pit. Exactly, that was nice. Then we have Charlene, who was now scooping. And if we are very keen, we can see the tools they were using to do the digging and the scooping of the soil, because this is the part of the farm or the garden that we have identified that we are going to make our compost heap to prepare the manure that we are going to use in this garden in readiness for crop production. Thank you, Charlene. So next to Charlene, right away, Charlene, you can just step this side. We have Alpha, who is already there with the maize materials, the maize stalk and the maize residues from the plant. So I mean, Alpha, you'll be the first one to drop the materials in the hole. Alpha, please do that. At the base, at bottom, the bottom line, we are going to have the maize stalk. Make sure they are well arranged. At the bottom, that's what Alpha is doing, sorry, is making sure that we have the maize stalk at the bottom as the first layer. Make sure these ones are at the bottom. You can step on them. Be careful. They are arranged well so that they spread, they make that layer there. That's okay. Thank you. Come this side. So followed by Jaden, who will now put the kitchen waste. Alpha, you can come this side. Jaden with the kitchen waste. Spread them evenly. Nice. That is kitchen waste. Very good. So we shall followed by animal waste. Animal waste that will be spread by Nicholas. Nicholas, kindly do spread the animal waste. Good, good, good. That is our animal waste. Thank you, Nicholas. Come this side. Then Tamia will bring the ash. So I hope everyone is following the layers, how we are being, they are being spread one after all, laid one after the other. And Tamia will explain to us, why do we need the ash?
We need the ash in this compost pit because it adds more nutrients to it so that it can be fertile.
Thank you. So she's introducing the ash for us because the ash contains some nutrients that is very important for them. The compost manure, the nutrients that we need here, the nitrogen and other minerals that are contained in them in the ash. So after that we shall need the dry grass, all the dry leaves that will be brought in by cassiva. So cassiva will spread the dry grass. Nice. That's great. So we are almost going to our last layer of the compost pit, and that's when we shall go back to Charlene, who will now spread the topsoil, the topsoil, the topsoil. And this topsoil we are introducing, it has small living organisms, and the living organisms in this topsoil are the ones which are going to act as decomposers to make sure that all the materials that we have laid here are broken down and they are all rotten to give us manure. So that is the importance of introducing this topsoil. So everyone should be able to understand the layers that are there, or the layers that are supposed to follow each other in a compost heap, and there are some layers that have significant importances why we are introducing them into the composting. For example, the ash, it has its significance for why we have to put it here. The topsoil, it also has its importance why we have to introduce it here. Just like Tamia has said, that we need the ash for it to add nutrients. And also, you can see what Charlene has done here. She has also spread the topsoil for it to also introduce the small living organisms which are going to break down the layers that we have, all the materials that we have arranged here in layers, and in some few days or few weeks to come, all these materials will have decomposed. All these materials will have decomposed, and we shall retrieve our manure from here, which we can now transfer to the garden and use it, or we can transfer it to our farm where we shall do our crop production. And because the manure that shall come here will be very fertilized, and we are encouraging organic farming, so we shall not go buy any artificial fertilizers. But before we come to the end of everything, we need water. We need to introduce water that will moisturize this compost heap and also increase the rate of decomposition. So we have Trevor, who is introducing water into the compost heap. Trevor, please come with water. Spread it evenly. Yes. Make sure it has enough water. So this water is just making the compost pit. This is the compost pit. By your pardon, it's making the compost pit to be moisturized, to be wet, and also it is through this water that it is going to increase the rate of decomposition of the materials that has already been laid down here. So I hope this lesson has been so much interactive, and it has also, I believe you have benefited from what we have already done here. We've not done a big compost pit, but at least we've learned the steps that are required. So it depends on the size of the farm you have, it depends on the size of the garden you have. So in case you are intending to do a farming or crop production, you please spare any part of your farm or garden to prepare a compost heap, because that manure will save you from extra costs that you may have used to buy the artificial fertilizers. In the next lesson, we shall be learning conservation of our environment, and we shall be looking soil conservation. I hope that is where we are also going to meet the preparation of compost manure, and we shall get to learn more in detail. For now, we want to leave you there, and anyone who has a comment, please do not hesitate to do so. Let us interact. Any question you would like to ask, please do so, so that we can learn bit by bit. And I thank you all for joining us in this lesson. Until next time, goodbye.